a lot of people want to hear his thoughts, and he's shared a lot of alpha over the years as well. Luke Belmar.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
My
Thanks for having
pleasure.
me in
Thank you for
London.
bringing the sun to London.
I brought the sun, bro. Bitcoin's pumping. The market's doing well. We're happy. Thankfully, Donald Trump did not get shot and killed, because if not today, the trading topics would be a lot different. The markets would have been destroyed. So I like that he was taken care of. He's good to go. Markets seem like they're ready for a phenomenal Q3 and Q4.
Definitely. I know we spoke very briefly then, literally, I think the day after, 2 days after, to arrange the podcast. And then since then, we've had Biden now saying he's not going to
it's wild.
continue on. The landscape is crazy because even the US elections are so important, of course, but then even in this 1 year, we've had the UK elections that just happened. The French elections are going on as well. It's like there's a lot of stuff happening in 2024.
A lot of changes.
Yeah,
a lot of changes on the chessboard per se. But at the end of the day, pattern recognition is key. When you identify patterns, all you have to do is you have to bet towards where you see the cycle headed. So when you see usually, Republican presidencies take place, the markets tend to perform extremely well. So people are already pricing in Trump winning, him supporting Bitcoin, him supporting the crypto space, him starting to open up trade a little bit more, reduce corporate tax, which is going to bring more business to America. So he has all these things that are cooking up, markets pricing it in, and I think we are headed somewhere excited. I'm pumped for it.
Definitely. And do you think that it's gonna happen? Do you think he's gonna become president again?
I think he's going to become president. I think more so than anything, it's going to give us 4 years where maybe wars and turmoil are going to be less crazy due to the fact that Russia, China, right now they don't respect the United States. It's very simple, very straightforward. Your president can't walk upstairs, right? So the United States right now is in a little bit of a vulnerable situation. We have Saudi Arabia right now beginning to allow the exchange of oil in other currencies, not just the petrodollar, because that agreement is up. So now what held the dollar strong is no longer there. So now you have force. So Donald Trump has to go around and start making relationships again, mending things up with countries. And I think that that's pretty much what his tenure is going to look like. I think it might be crazy from the inside, and we might see the attempts of potential takeover of elections. But certain things we can't say because they're going to go on YouTube. But yeah.
I find it so fascinating, because especially even with Biden stepping down, it'll be a shock to the masses. But I've been hearing about it on Twitter for weeks or maybe even months. Kind of necessary, as you said, like when your president's falling upstairs and not knowing where to go after a speech. But it is crazy. And I know Donald Trump's really heavily been quite vocal on his support for crypto and Bitcoin, for example. I think he's speaking actually at
the Bitcoin conference.
Yeah. But is there any worry that, it's one of those things where it's to get the votes, get the election, and then no action afterwards?
I mean, yes and no. Yes, in the aspect of, obviously, there's a huge voter base that supports Bitcoin. Therefore, if you support it by proxy, they'll like you more. But there's a ton of billionaires and a ton of lobbying taking place on the crypto side to make sure that crypto wins. Right now, you see a lot of exchanges. I talked to a lot of head of exchanges, and they're telling me, we're getting crackdowns from either the SEC, or we're getting crackdowns now from a new organization in Europe called MiCA, M-I-C-A, that is basically the SEC that blankets all of Europe. So now all of these exchanges need to be compliant under this new European SEC. So they're starting to build DEXs and become decentralized, because now politics is becoming a tool of weaponry. So you're seeing a lot of billionaires, a lot of very rich companies like Coinbase go to Capitol Hill and say, hey, like, we want crypto to be taken care of. So if Donald Trump is taking money from these guys are getting favors in return. It's the name of the game. So he wants to keep crypto in-house. Ideally, the United States builds some sort of Bitcoin treasury or reserve. We see the potentiality of Larry Fink becoming maybe involved in the treasury, or maybe involved in some sort of financial position advising the president. And we know that he's very pro-Bitcoin now with the Bitcoin ETFs. So now we see the institutionalization of Bitcoin. Now we need it to go to the next phase, which is government awareness. And naturally, all these suits, right? Larry Fink and company dude, their bags are packed. If you don't think so, then you haven't been paying attention. Fidelity's been buying Bitcoin since 2015, mining it, right? So they're ready to play the game. We see the Ethereum ETF rolling around, the potentiality of a Solana ETF. So now the legal battles are taken care of. Now we know what process to take. But unless the United States, and they've obviously realized it, and I think that this is where it's headed with Trump, unless they kind of lean in and validate crypto internally, crypto's going to go to Dubai, crypto's going to go to Singapore, crypto's going to go overseas. And their companies, they don't care. They'll do it. They'll leave. They've proven it. So the U.S. needs to cultivate it for their own safety and security, for the security of their currency and things of this nature. So I think it's going to be a good thing for crypto. I think we're heading into a really good season, a bullish season, and a season that has been expected for a really long period of time, especially with the ETF approvals beyond just the one of Bitcoin.
Talking of the ETF approvals, one thing I wanted to ask you, because I know it's highlighted a lot and it's obviously changing the landscape of cryptocurrency as a whole, and the access and the finances that are going into it now and the capital rolling in. But I know there'll be people out there as part of the audience who won't understand how important that is, or what the sort of dynamic of the ETFs being approved and being made makes for the market. Could you break that down slightly of like, why is it that these ETFs being approved and being made is so important?
So it's all about the path of least resistance. The ETF is the path of least resistance for liquidity and big money to come in. Many of these companies that will invest in an ETF, in a mutual fund, they have investors, policies, things of this nature that they need to comply with. Telling them, hey, go buy Bitcoin and hold it in a ledger is not viable for these companies. An exchange-traded fund is the pooling of this money in order to attack or purchase or acquire a certain asset class. In this case, you have the Bitcoin ETF. So the Bitcoin ETF is a cumulative of a lot of companies that have interest in Bitcoin and want Bitcoin exposure without having direct exposure to Bitcoin. So you have the custody or the middleman. So you don't just have BlackRock, you have a ton of other companies that are right now launching their ETFs, not just in the United States, but overseas. And what it's doing is allowing the path of least resistance for institutional capital, people that have policies and rules on how their money is supposed to be managed, and is a lot more conservative than we think, pouring into Bitcoin. Number two, we have sovereign states. Sovereign states and sovereign individuals now getting into Bitcoin. A lot of them do it through big banks, do it through big organizations. So buying Bitcoin directly for them doesn't make sense. They're in it for the trade. They're in it for the money. They don't necessarily care about holding the Bitcoin itself. Might as well just leave it with Coinbase custody. That's how they think about it. So the reason it's important is because it's the path of least resistance, number one. Number two, it's the validation that it's actually a financial market that is accepted. Once the U.S. accepts something as a national asset class or something that the market will kind of consider, it becomes a standard worldwide. So now Bitcoin has become normalized, which is a phenomenal thing. And it's given us a guideline as to what we can and can't do within the crypto space that allows other projects and other companies and other tokens to be able to follow that same path. The Ethereum ETF is on the way as well. And I think that one's going to be massively lucrative. I'm very bullish on ETH. We're sitting at I think right now, a $3,400 ETH. Very cheap, under all-time high. And we could see it push to $5,000, $6,000, even $10,000 with a very bullish scenario.
In terms of like where we're at right now, like we've hovered around, we made an all-time high ever so slightly on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then we had a pullback, and we've just sort of been hovering, for a good amount of months now. What are your thoughts? What is the market trying to wait for? Do you think it's like the elections is playing a part of that? Is there any sort of factors that you think are keeping prices sort of subdued at the moment?
Let's take a break for a minute there, guys, because I want to tell you about the best prop firm in the entire industry, Alpha Capital. Let's keep it nice and simple. You want to get paid out. You want to have institutional experience behind the firm. You want to have their own broker so that you can trade on the best platform that all traders love to use. And on top of which, they have their own technology as well, so they're here for the long term. Alpha Capital has no commissions as well as part of their trading conditions, which is absolutely incredible. And not only that, they're London's finest. Now, if you want to join them, 20% off using the code RIZ, and the link is in the description below. Now let's get back to the episode.
I mean, Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 60,000 in the span of a couple months. Now you're just consolidating for another leg up. I mean, the market hasn't really done much. The altcoins obviously have bled out. That's naturally what happens when Bitcoin trends sideways and you have meme coins kind of becoming the main source of liquidity for the market. Everything else kind of gets pulled. but now you're seeing projects resurface. But what I like about the market is that the market, every single bull run, becomes more intelligent. They figure out how they're getting finessed. They figure out, hey, what are fake promises or what are real projects? And they're just starting to validate what the market is actually about, which, believe it or not, it's around meme coins, and it's around culture, and it's around like gambling and fun and crazy activities. This idea of these boring projects that have 9-year roadmaps on how tokens are going to... People have fallen for so much of this that they don't care anymore. So we're in a completely different market. We're in a lot of a more volatile, fun market, in my opinion, that gives access and opportunity to anybody. I think Bitcoin trending sideways is not only good, it's something that we want, because it allows us to pack our bags and it allows us to understand that on the next leg up, if you're positioned properly with these altcoins that are down 70, 80%, when Bitcoin taps all-time high again, $70,000 plus, your altcoins are going to rip and they're going to do extremely well.